is the MPA? Are they lizard people? Join me as we turn on our detective vision to find out the truth. Now, if you're like me and you're quirky and you like movies, probably watch a lot of movie trailers. And whether you're in the theaters or you're watching it on YouTube at home, one of the things that you'll see is that this trailer was approved by the MPA. But who are the MPA? Why are they approving a trailer or a movie? Gave them that power? Why are they the ones that get to decide whether something is approved? Sometimes they get it wrong though, and it can be really weird for us. Toy Story 3 has this scene where Buzz, Woody, and the gang, they're headed on a conveyor belt thing towards literally being like burned alive. Ugh, I still have nightmares about that. So before we get into how they rate a movie and the way they are now, first I wanted to get into a little bit of the history of the MPA. Now, the MPA was first started in 1922. It was initially created because filmmakers and the studio executives were really concerned that the government was going to come in and start censoring movies because there was some uproar about some violence in film. One of the examples of this is a movie called The Great Train Robbery. It's a short, silent film, but towards the end of the movie, one of the robbers points his gun at the camera and shoots. There was many people that were upset by this, thinking that it was way too violent to see. So, out of fear, the studio executives made this group, which was then called the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America. And it was initially made up of Paramount, Fox Films, Lowe's, Universal Pictures, and United Artists. They were later joined by Warner Brothers, Columbia Pictures, and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. The idea was that if they formed this trade association, then all the movies that were being made and distributed and were in theaters would be censored by them, the biggest studios in the land. Now, these studios formed this little band under General Will Hayes. Through him, in 1930, the MPA adopted something that was later called the Hays Code. The Hays Code was a set of rules and censors that aimed to stop movies from getting, canceled, I guess? Now, according to the MPA's website, the Hays Code was adopted so that it would ensure the absence of offensive materials. Now, if we be like Batman and we turn on our detective vision and we do a little sleuthing and we look at what the Hays Code actually has in it, one of the things that we'll find is that by offensive material, they mean miscegenation, and showing ridicule for the law because it was creating sympathy for its violation. Hold on, but what does miscegenation mean? Oh, okay. That's not good. I would not call that offensive material, but different time, I guess. Yeah, that's not good. I would not call that offensive material, MPA. Now, at the time, all films had to be approved by this Hays Code. They made it to where every single theater would only show movies approved by the Motion Picture Association. What that meant is in order to get any kind of showing, you had to go through the MPA. Also, because it was made up of the biggest studios around and the biggest bullies around, they also controlled the distribution of any film, which means they couldn't even get to TV the way it might have in the 1930s. What that means is the MPA absolutely, without any doubt, was acting like a censor. But one of the questions is the MPA still acting like a censor? Not really, but kind of. It's a weird gray area. The Hays Code was in effect for 4 decades before it was overturned. And some of the movies that were made under the Hays Code are classics. Some of them are considered to be some of the best films of all time. I mean, Citizen Kane, Rear Window, a personal favorite of mine, Singing in the Rain, The Great Escape, all movies that were made under the Hays Code. So there were still good movies being made. But the Hays Code was still censoring all of them and could tell them what could be in the movie and what couldn't be in the movie. It wasn't until 1968 that President Jack Valenti decided to make the rating system voluntary instead of mandatory. He wanted to change the mission statement of the MPA. Instead of censoring movies, what he wanted to do was rate movies. That way parents would have a better idea of what a movie had in it so they could decide if it was appropriate for their children. Today, the MPA is made up of Netflix Studios, Paramount Pictures Corporation, Sony Pictures Entertainment, Universal City Studios, Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, Warner Brother Discovery, and as of September of 2024, they also decided to include Amazon MGM Studios and Amazon Prime Video. While making this rating system voluntary was good, initially it honestly wouldn't have changed much. And honestly, even till today, it doesn't change much. See, theaters still won't show a movie unless it's been rated. And those studios still own a lot of the distribution rights. We all know that there's a dozen different streaming services owned by these very companies that we see. And they can allow whatever they want on their apps and whatever content they want. But what you're not going to see a lot of is movies not rated by the MPA. This means, again, is that they are still limiting how a filmmaker can distribute his films. They're still limiting how their film gets out there because to this day, again, a theater won't show a movie, and also a streaming service won't show a movie that's not rated. MPA is supposed to give a movie a rating to tell parents, is a movie appropriate for my child? Now, this rating system, the G, PG, PG-13, isn't really the part that people have issue with. What they have issue with is how the movie gets that rating. A division of the MPA called CARA, or the Clarification and Rating Association, abide by a document called the Classification and Rating Rules. It is a 22-page document that shows how they operate. A movie is rated with a ratings board. Now, the ratings board is made up of the chairperson, an administrative director, senior raters, and then raters. The difference between a senior rater and a rater is a senior rater is just someone who's been around longer and is a little bit of the spokesperson for the raters underneath them. So the identity of these raters are kept 100% secret. Nobody knows who these people are. No one knows who's rating the movies. The only people that know who the raters are is the MPA and anyone higher up at CARA. Not the filmmakers, not the studios, well, not the studios. These secret few will screen your finished movie. They will give you a rating for your movie. They'll say, hey, we think this movie is PG-13. You can then approve of this rating, or you can ask what needs to be recut to give it a lower rating. Here's the thing though, they are notorious for not giving good notes. An example of this is American Psycho. It was originally given an NC-17 rating, but one of the things they asked them to adjust is the overall tone of the movie. How do you fix the tone of a movie? That's like half of the movie is the tone. And there are tons and tons and tons of stories of directors who got bad notes, weird notes, or just really off and unhelpful notes from the MPA. Now, because the raters are so unspecific and so unhelpful to filmmakers, what this means is that sometimes you get movies with really weird ratings. Sometimes you'll find an R-rated movie that should have been PG-13 and vice versa, or maybe it was a PG movie that should have been PG-13. Now, there's one movie that sticks out in my mind of a movie that is rated PG that should be rated PG-13. For me, this movie is Paul Blart Mall Cop. It is a movie full of fat jokes.
Oh, I wish I had a bat. I would bust you open, see how much candy fell out.
And it's about a fat guy that is trying to stop some baddies on Christmas. This movie has suggestive humor.
Do not lie to me. You are probably sweating over her right now. Plus, she has some crazy sexy feet.
Language.
Looks like Paul Blart turned into quite the badass.
Whoa, 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 relax.
Violence. And by violence, what I mean is explosions, shooting,
And since everybody thinks this was a bank robbery,
hot sauce attacks, tackling a man through a skylight, and accidentally getting drunk and crashing through a window.
I believe in magic!
To me, it's crazy that that movie's PG. This same year, this same rating is the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Hey!
In Paul Blart, there is shooting, there's violence, there's sick stunts. Given the same rating as a movie like Frozen or Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, that is such a wide range of what a movie could include. From a mild adventure in Frozen to drunkenly falling out of a window in a mall. The only real specifications given for how a movie is rated is the language in it, if it mentions drugs at all, sexual content. But when it comes to violence, they don't seem to really have any specifics. There is nothing about violence, so it would straightforwardly tell them, hey, this is where your movie should sit. I say that to say that the MPA is made up of human beings. And it's fine that if they make a mistake or they rate something weirdly, that's going to happen. Because you can't have a system that's exactly perfect and says, hey, if you say this one thing, if you tell this one joke, you're going to be PG-13 versus PG, or PG-13 versus R. That's not going to happen. But what should happen is that a filmmaker should be able to very straightforwardly say, hey, what specifically are you saying is making my movie jump a rating? And that's the thing, is that the MPA and CARA is acting like a governing body, but without any real representation for the filmmaker. The MPA and CARA is made up of the biggest studios in Hollywood, and they're known for all being bullies. They have created an environment where your movie will not get shown in theaters unless you go through them. They've created an environment where your movie won't go on my app. You won't go to any streaming services unless you go through us, making it extremely hard to get seen in theaters or go to a streaming service unless they're bought by one of these big studios, therefore being pushed through the MPA, or not going through the MPA at all. Your movie probably doesn't get seen. I love movies. I really like art in general. One of the coolest things I believe about art is how it can change a person's perspective or give them insight to something they may have never thought of before. I think it's really cool that I can watch a movie and have my opinion changed because I'm seeing something from a different perspective, or it's something I've never thought of. To me, it's amazing that a series of pictures and sounds can be so transformative to our culture and to people as individuals. There's nothing better than seeing a movie in a theater. That's what you want as a filmmaker, would be to see your movie on the big screen and to be able to have people enjoy it. Honestly, I don't know what the fix is for this, though. Is it necessary that the biggest studios get to rate every movie that comes through every theater? I don't think so. It's nice going to the theater and buying a ticket to a PG movie knowing my kids should be able to watch this. Except for the fact that because it can sometimes have such a wide range, I find myself not looking at, hey, is it rated G or PG more than anything. I'd find myself using IMDb's Parents Guide more than anything. IMDb Parents Guide gives me exactly what I want to look at. Before I go see a movie with my kids, I have exactly what to expect in the movie. From there, I can decide if I want my kid to watch it. At the end of the day, as a parent, it is 110% my responsibility to guard what my kids watch, whether it's in a movie theater or on the internet. But the MPA isn't even being that helpful. They're not being that beneficial if, again, a PG movie ranges from Frozen, a movie with very little violence, no sexual jokes that I really remember. If they were subtle, I guess, all the way to very obvious sexual jokes, very obvious violence and explosions, and again, a guy getting drunk and crashing through a window and even messing with people when he's drunk.
No one heard a single word you said.
Is it really worth buying into the fact that big studios get to decide what a movie gets rated and even whether it gets to be seen in a theater or not? I don't know. I don't think so. But I don't know what the alternative is. Made themselves a necessary thing when they ultimately aren't necessary anymore. I wish there was a clear-cut solution. I really wish there was. When I started this, I was hoping I could at the end of the video be like, hey, this is a solution. Get rid of them. Or hey, this is the solution. Be more specific. But at the end of the day, I think one of the biggest things would be, hey, filmmakers should have representation to your board that are rating the movies. If that's going to be a thing that's necessary for theaters to see, do better at rating. Maybe be a little more specific so that we know what to expect going into movies. So what do you guys think? Now, if you like videos like this, please sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Give this video a big ol' like if you liked it. If not, just exit out of the video. Or actually, you should watch this movie again because you're probably wrong.